In this video, we're going to learn about projections and stamps. These are two very powerful tools that, if mastered, can help you become a productive and efficient webmaster. First, let me try to explain what a projection is. Let's take a look at an overhead projector. The image you see on the wall is not actually the source of the image. It's a projection of that image that originates from the slide. If you move the slide, the image on the wall moves too. Now, if we had 3 sources of light or mirrors and 3 walls, we could see 3 different images all cast from a single slide. This is what we're going to do on your website. We're creating a single slide that's going to be the source. Then we're going to cast that slide onto different places on your website. If it doesn't make sense at the moment, that's all right. It will. Let me show you an example. This is a website that is made up. It's a subscription-based landscaping service called Leafly. And on the About page, I have some useful information. And there's one particular section here that has the pricing on it. And the pricing is very useful. You might want to have it on multiple places on your website. And in fact, I do. Not just on the About page, but I also have it on the Services page. And in fact, I have it on a bunch of other pages too. Now, if I'm going to update the pricing, let's say I want to change this from $25.99 to $23.99. The traditional way of doing this is to go to the image, we'll click it, and I've already uploaded the new image in here. So I'll replace it with the $23.99, and then I'm going to have to go to my settings and publish it. Then I'll have to go to my other page, and I'll have to change it there as well. And if I have 10 different pages with the pricing on, I'm going to have to go to every single page and change it. Well, we can do better than that. We're going to create a projection. Now, the way this is going to work is we're going to turn this entire container into a projection. You can make a projection from any container. So in other words, you can make one from a section, a row, just a single column, or even a column group. But you can't make one from, let's say, just an image. So you can't make it from individual elements. You have to make it from their containers. So in this case, we're going to make a projection from the section. So to do that, we click the cog in the section. And in the toolbar below, we're going to navigate to the Projection Stamp tab. Here we're going to type in the name of our projection. We'll call this Leafly Pricing Tiers. And I'm going to click Create. Now, once I do that, you'll see a notification the projection was created. And I can no longer click in and edit because the projection is, or this is now a projection. We're looking at the wall, not the slide. So what I'm going to do then is go back to my other page, my Services page, and on the left-hand side, we have a spot for projections. Now, if depending on your setup, you might have a lightning bolt in the upper right in which you click that, and the toolbar will slide out from the side. But if you're on my setup, you'll find all of the projections that you've created. Now, the new one we just made hasn't been pulled in yet, so we just click refresh, and here we see Leafly Pricing Tiers. So I'm going to click that and drag it into the page, and I'm going to drop it here. Now, this is our projection, so it's referencing the slide that we created, and this is our old one, and we don't need this anymore. This is its original individual component parts, but we want them to all be referencing a single source. So I'm going to go ahead and delete this old section now that we have this new one. Now, if I wanted to edit this projection, I can find a little quick access in the bottom left of that projection. Click Edit, and it's going to open up in a separate builder. We can't edit projections on our page. We need to go into a separate builder. This is editing the source slide. So I can go in here and maybe I'll switch the columns around. When I'm satisfied, I'm going to go to settings and I'm going to click publish. This is what we're doing, is we're creating a draft here, just like when we're editing a page. And when we want the changes to happen, then we have to publish it. So we're going to go and click publish. Now if I go back to my services page and I refresh my screen, we'll see the columns now on the left side. And everything, all the other pages, let me refresh, that are referencing that projection will update that as well. Now let me show you where you can, another way you can manage your projections. If you go back to the admin page and you navigate to templates, projections, you'll see all the projections that you created. So if you wanted to rename this from Leafly pricing tiers to something else, you could. I'll put an exclamation point. We'll update it. I'll explain what delete and release is. I wouldn't recommend doing it from here. You leave that for the web designer. Or you can clone a projection and create an exact copy of it and edit it, or we can access it this way. Same thing. So you could either access it from the admin panel or you could access it from the page itself. Now let's go back to our About page. And let me show you what it means to release a projection. So if I didn't want this to be a projection anymore, I can release it. I'm going to click the cog, and this edit projection button is the same as when you hover over here. They both do the same thing, just two ways to do it. If I click release, what it's going to do is going to turn my projection back into its component parts and sever the connection so that it no longer is referencing the slide. So I'm going to click release, and now you can see that everything's editable again. I can edit my text, I can change things around, I can do whatever I want because it's no longer a projection. So projections are extremely powerful tools, and if you can master this, you'll see your efficiency go through the roof. It's just a phenomenal tool, and it's really what separates Leiout from other website builders. Now, a common projection is the footer. If you have a 50-page website and you wanted to update your Facebook link, or maybe you wanted to add a new social media, you wouldn't want to go to every single page and update them individually. You would just go to your projection, you would edit it, you would click publish, and then on all 50 of your pages it would update the footer all at the same time. So chances are your footer is set up to be a projection. Let's take a look at stamps now. A stamp is a reusable component that you can build and then drag it in and reproduce a layout somewhere else. So let's just differentiate this so that we can reference it easier. I'll change the background image to this lavender. If I navigate to the projection stamp tab again, but this time I go over to stamp, I can create a reusable component. So let's name this Leafly Lavender. I don't know if I spelled that right. I click create, the stamp is created. You'll notice I can still edit it just as before. However, in my stamps, you'll see that under projections, or in the old setup, click the lightning bolt on the right and look for stamps. I'll refresh and pull in the new one, and I'll look for Leafly Lavender. So I'm going to drag that in, and I have the same thing twice. The way it's parallaxing is actually kind of hard to tell, but these are two separate sections, and they're independent of each other. They're not connected in any way. It's very useful if you've found a component that you've created that you'd like to use other places, but maybe it doesn't have the same information. It can be helpful for something like this, a 3-column layout with icons and text. That's common enough that you might want to reuse that component. So instead of having to build this from scratch 3 separate times, you can just create a stamp out of it and then drag that into your page wherever it's applicable. And like I said before, you could create a projection or a stamp out of any container. So it doesn't have to be the whole section. It could be the row instead. So we'll call this 3-column icons. Create the stamp. We'll go into the stamps here, refresh, pull the new one in. We call this 3-column icons. There it is. And I'll place it here. And there it is. Or I can do it out of a single column. So here I'll call this single column icon. I'll create. I'll go back to my stamps, refresh. I'll search for single column icon. So I can put that in, and I have that balloon again. And they're not, notice they're not connected. So very easy to build components that you can use on other places on the website. I recommend watching this video until you understand it thoroughly. This is one of the major advantages of using Leiout, is these tools in particular.